Jeb got a promotion today.
Jeb, you got a promotion?
So we did a poll on Instagram, should Jeb get a raise? And all these people said yes, and one guy said no.
RMFG is growing. We're adding new services, which means we're getting new machines, which means we need more staff. But we have an interesting way in acquiring and growing talent internally. We're going to sit down with Kenneth and tell us how he hires for a manufacturing role in America in the 21st century.
I think primarily it's culture fit first, right? Is this someone we want to be around? Do they seem excited about what we're doing? Are they going to work hard and show up? Are they interested in getting better? And I would say that's the main first criteria, right? And so I think it's different than a typical shop whose first criteria is, hey, how many years of experience do you have running this particular machine? We actually don't really care about that almost at all.
What's happening today with our employees? Explain what I'll call the upshift or upcycle.
There's some promotions happening, basically, long story short. So Jeb is our youngest employee. We hired him, basically a shop hand, right? Anything that needs to get done that's not really running a piece of equipment, Jeb was doing, running the forklift, taking trash out, running errands, that kind of thing.
And he did a lot of packaging you left out as well, I thought. But how you didn't hire him just for packaging? Explain how you hire someone even for the first rung on the ladder.
I think that opportunity for advancement is a core thing that we want to build here, right? I think that people kind of fear being in this kind of dead-end job where there's nothing to go do next. But, if you're a growing company, I think that I would like to default to giving more opportunities that people are here rather than kind of trying to always hire someone who's hey, I got to go find the guy who has 20 years of experience or whatever. And so, for Jeb, we hired him, we said, there's different opportunities here, right? If you're interested in running machines, there's opportunities there. We make it clear, when we hire someone, that not only is there different jobs and stuff they can do, but the more valuable thing they're doing, the more money they can make.
Let's move over here and talk to Troy, who has come to be known as Master Bender. And then we're going to find out what Dylan's new nickname is. Right, Dylan? Troy's a nervous Nelly. He's a very kind, amiable, kind of intelligent person, but on camera, he doesn't know what to do with his hands.
Yeah.
So what were you doing before you were working at RMFG?
Before this job, I was a project manager at a construction company doing project management.
But that was your first job out of college, right? What did you do in college?
Mechanical engineering.
Cool. So you're kind of predisposed to this kind of work, right? You know stuff.
Doing stuff, yeah.
So this is your first engineering job, your first manufacturing job. What surprised you about this job, even if it's specifically RMFG, that you weren't really expecting?
I definitely feel it's you're definitely a part of something because there's not that many people that work here. So the work that one person does, that everyone does, is all important because there's not that many people that work here. So as an individual, you definitely play a part in the big picture of the whole thing. I was looking for something to where I could get into some kind of, where in the future there would be some engineering related opportunities. First thing I was doing here was running the laser. It's mostly straightforward once you learn how to use it. Just kind of put the material down and press start. After that, I moved over to the press brake.
So you moved over to the press brake after the laser. Was that a graduation or a step up of sorts?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, I was just kind of moving jobs, doing something different. Just as we grow, we need more people. And then you just put the new person on kind of the easier thing. And then I just moved on to this.
What's different about the press brake than the laser?
Well, the press brake, you have to figure out the order of operations for how you bend a part without it crashing into itself or into the machine. So it just requires that human touch to make it work,
So we're going to talk about Dylan. Dylan's up next. Dylan was the laser operator, and now he's moving to the press brake. How do you feel about this kind of pull through that we have for all of our employees? Basically, start at the first or second rung and then move up from there.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's really good for someone to start on something more simple and then just advance to something harder. You get to do everything in the process. So you start with cutting the parts, you do that for a while, then you come over here and shape them into the final form. So it's just kind of the next thing, a way for you to advance.
in the theme of advancement, outside of like advancing your own career, what does that do for the factory that everybody kind of gets to touch a piece of the
Okay, yeah. So, well, if everybody knows what happens next in the process, it makes the process that much easier. Like instead of one person just doing their job, not knowing what happens next, they might do it in a way that would be harder for the next step or something. But if you know all the processes, I think it just makes it a lot more seamless. So it's good for everyone to get their hands on stuff and know what they're doing.
So basically 6 months, you do a task, you become a master at it, right? And then you move on. So from master bender number 1 to master bender number 2.
Press princess.
Press princess. All right. So we come from master bender, Troy over here. That's his nickname, by the way. And you are now the press princess.
That's the unfortunate name that I've been given. Yes.
We don't have an HR department, but we all love each other. It's all good. Where did you start? How old are you first?
So I'm 25. I started at the laser here about 7-ish months ago. So now I'm moving on to the press brake.
What was your job before RMFG?
So actually, before RMFG, I never had any kind of blue collar or any kind of factory shop experience. It's all been restaurants, pretty much. I mean, I had a couple of other jobs, but yeah, all my experiences in restaurants.
Awesome. I actually spent 12 years in the restaurant industry. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Service industry.
I think there's a lot of great lessons to learn in
Absolutely.
a restaurant. One of those that I would say is teamwork. Everybody's gonna kind of, when you have a bad night and the whole restaurant has a bad night, or one other person throws a wrench in the machine. Well,
the importance too of having, the difference between a good crew and a not so good crew. Coworkers make all the difference.
What's the crew like? What's the kind of crew environment here?
So first of all, everybody's pretty much close to my age, which is really nice. It helps everything kind of, there's not a disconnect generationally. Also, everybody's laid back, everybody's smart, which is also important. So everybody knows what their job is, how to do it well. So you get really high quality training from your team members as well.
So you started 7 months ago, you started working the laser, and that seems to be like the entry point in our stack of services. It's kind of ironic that that's the first place that any of our metal goes is to be cut out. How would you describe that learning curve? Was it difficult?
I'd say with all the software improvements that they've made and stuff, it's honestly pretty straightforward. I mean, obviously there's a slight learning curve your first couple days, maybe week or so, but it's honestly pretty plug and play. The machine does maybe 80% of it. So as long as you're inputting the right parameters and whatnot, everything should come out pretty good.
How much of a jump up is that from laser operating to this?
I'd say it's fairly significant. It's a lot more manual inputs. You're using your own head versus software kind of doing it for you, which of course could be improved. But, you really have to think about what you're doing when you're doing it, what order you're going to bin certain bins in, stuff like that.
So back to the employee pull through, as I'm calling it, you kind of start at one station, and then you graduate from there. How beneficial has it been that you started on the laser, you started working here for 6-7 months, and then you graduated to this?
So yeah, I think that's a great thing because as I mentioned earlier, I didn't have really any kind of shop experience. So that gives me a chance to learn, materials, thicknesses, stuff like that, which all translates over to the press brake, as well as, more information. But I think it gives you a good solid foundation in order to learn not just the press brake, but everything else that we have to offer.
So 7 months in, you're already graduating to obviously more technical piece of machinery. Is that something that you're like, oh man, I got to learn this new thing? Or is it an exciting development for you?
Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty excited for it. There is a little, like I said, steeper learning curve. So I think it'll take a little more time to catch on than the laser did. But no, I'm absolutely excited for it. And I'm excited to learn more.
How long have you been training on this?
Today is day 2.
So only 2 days. How long do you think you have until you reach master bender status and you get to shirk the press princess moniker?
Troy's left a pretty strong legacy, but hopefully I'll get everything down in, a couple months, at least to get to his status. I think I'll get the basics down sooner, but yeah, maybe I'm going to quote myself on 2 or 3 months.
So obviously, you know, we still have Troy around. He's not going anywhere, and he's obviously training you on this, but there'll be some generous overlap. So it's not going to affect production or anything like that. Do you have any idea, or are you excited for whatever, you know, 6, 7 months from now, maybe 12 months, however long that you graduate from this to the next thing? Or
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, I want to learn as much as I can while I'm here. You know, I don't plan on going anywhere, but it's always important to get as much experience as possible in as many things as possible. So, I mean, I started at the old shop, which was tiny. We had almost no space. I mean, all kinds of stuff going on. Not as many services. I think we've added 2 or 3 services since I've started, expanded a lot. We've added 2 or 3 more employees. So, and that's just in the short 6, 7 months I've been here. So I see huge upward trajectory. I think we're going to keep growing fast, and I really love my job here. I don't have any plans on going anywhere else anytime soon, but I just want to soak up as much as I can while I'm here.
The last thing I would say is just like taking young people seriously. I think a lot of people have this kind of default frame where it's like, hey, you know, you're the young guy. You don't need much responsibility. Just kind of like stay in your corner and like shut up and, you know, just do your job. And then I think that honestly, like, it doesn't really matter too much someone's age on like how much responsibility you can give them. It just depends on if they're up to the challenge, like that individual, right? Instead of like, hey, you have to wait 5 years before you do this like next step and this, you know, next step. I don't want to make it sound like we will never hire old people either.
right, of course
but,
not. Of course not.
Because of how we run our business and the software and systems that we're building, one, we're like a more attractive employer, so we can attract, you know, like the young, fresh talent. And then 2, we can actually take someone and train them really quickly. And so, you know, Jeb basically within a week on the lasers making production parts for companies that are going to put things in outer space, right? Like he's doing, you know, pretty working on pretty important stuff. And a large part of that is, you know, the software and the systems that we've built to make that job easier.
So we're doing podcasts still, and we're really just winging it. But let us know what we should talk about next. You know, everybody says like, share, comment, subscribe, all that other stuff. But if you write a comment, you want to hear something, I'm going to whip out the microphones and the cameras, and we're going to talk about it. So we'll see you guys on the next episode.
See you guys.